thrill is gone.
Hello and welcome to WNHH FM's Dateline New Haven.
Woo.
I'm your host, Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make New Haven tick. Nothing ticks better than Pundit Friday, which are about to begin here in the WNHH studio with the #1 pundits in the universe. I'm talking about people like Babs Rawls-Ivy,
Hey.
the dairy-free goddess of our grassroots radio operation. She's the belle of our ball, the managing editor of the Inner City News, and host of WNHH's Love Babs Love program. She's on her third straight hour here. All right.
Yes.
We've got the queen of quipping and quintessence of compassion, La Voz Hispana publisher Norma Rodriguez-Reyes.
Hola.
I heard a rumor that Harry Droz, our station manager and heavy detail Trump devotee, is coming in. Bravest man, New Haven. And Marquisha Ricks, I heard, is on the bus. So it's anyone's guess that she's coming.
She's on the bus.
And there's somebody else here, the conqueror of cannabis commerce. The bright light in the New Haven night. The straight shooter from Bermuda.
All right.
The mystical and metaphorical man on the money, the tackler of tempestuousness and titan of temperance, the banisher of bilious bullies, the prince of pleasantries and punctuality, sorcerer of scientific solution, blessed beatboxer of banksters and bacchanalians, the just-in-time judge of jackals and japery, the sentinel of serenity, sincerity, and salvation, the righteous reaper of restitution, the griot of the grassy knoll, the conquistador of cussing criminals, the weaver of wellness and wisdom, mellifluous and meritocratic miner of melody, Joe Ugly.
Are we still on him?
In the morning is also joining us to look at the headlines. Hi, everyone. How you doing?
Hello, sir. How are you?
Ned and Lamont went slumming in New Haven. Greenwich millionaire buying the nomination for
What do you mean
governor.
slumming? What does that mean?
I'll tell you what.
Was he in your neighborhood?
No. He took the bus to Grand Avenue, and he was trying to talk to the people. And he went to Orlando's barbershop. And do you remember when George Bush the First was running for election, and he went to a real supermarket slumming it?
Yes,
and he saw
he didn't
that
know how the price of
he didn't
milk.
know the scanners. He said, "Oh, those interesting. How those things work when they were scanning the barcodes?
Right, exactly.
When the rest of America had been using them for years."
Right.
So Ned goes into Orlando's barbershop on Grand Avenue.
It gets good.
And he says he's obviously thrown because he sees a haircut like he's never seen before. Which, I mean, I know I looked up all the names because I'm also kind of a clueless white guy. But it's when they shave, they give a fade or whatever. You high top. You shave the bottom part. The top has a lot of hair.
Right.
So he's doesn't know what to say. So Ned goes, and the barber's a young Latino guy, and he says to him, "So, anyone ask for Rocket Man haircuts?" So
What is Rocket Man?
Ned's making small talk.
Yeah.
So the guy looks at him blank. Tom Breen was there covering it for the Independent.
What is
"Excuse
Rocket
me?
Man?
What does that mean? What is Rocket
Hold on,
Man?"
hold on.
So Ned goes, the head of North Korea, Kim Jong.
Oh.
So the guy goes, "Oh no one has asked for
But
Rocket
why
Man
would he
haircuts."
say that in a Latino neighborhood?
Because Ned does not know what goes on there, and he doesn't know how to talk to anyone. That
He
was
called
the
it the
point.
Rocket Man haircut.
He thought that they would relate to him making a joke about what
right.
Donald Trump said about North Korea on Grand Avenue when he sees a haircut that anyone who has spent any time in New Haven has been seeing for, 25 years on everybody?
Right.
And that was his
longer than that.
reaction, and then his ability to talk guy. Ned is not connecting.
Totally.
I think, you know what? I think the way he could connect is if he stayed in his lane and talked from a place
people
the way he knows how to talk to people and stop trying to pander.
Or simply say, what kind of haircut is that?
Well,
I mean,
why
yeah,
don't you
just
get
get
a
offended?
candidate that could connect.
Well,
A candidate exactly like him,
June
your
28th,
typical white
8 p-
man
8 a.m.
or white woman that can actually connect with
I'm
that
not.
kind of
Listen,
scenario.
Give me the look of death.
I think if he,
I think you're being unfair to Ned Lamont.
I think if he just asked the questions, or if he would have went in there and just talked about, if he was just comfortable, if he would have just tapped into his inner Bill Clinton, or because there's some white folks who know how to be around black folks or
and
people
it's
of color.
just be authentic.
He's not one of those people.
Just be authentic.
But he
then
knows
he-
how to
I don't
hire.
think
He
there's
knows how to
any
hire
candidate
them.
except for
Well,
Gannon
when Eva
that's used to
Eva
being
becomes lieutenant governor,
Yeah.
maybe she'll help him.
When who?
So Tom Breen, Eva Bermudez, you've been missing some stuff,
No.
Joe, and you've been out of country.
Yeah, I've
But
been.
Paul, we're talking about
Who's
haircuts.
big?
Why don't we talk about when DeStefano first got his haircut? Because
Thank
remember he
you.
used to have an
That's
afro.
right, an afro,
And
that's
then he
right.
went here on Orange
Orange
Street.
Street.
The old mayor.
And finally he got rid of his afro because it
For
wasn't
ye-
kosher at that time to have an afro and run for mayor.
That is so true. She's
For a
absolutely
white
right.
guy, yeah.
That is so true.
And I'm not even gonna go there with white people in this whole white fro thing. I'm not.
Well, there are also Jew fros.
I'm not.
I don't have one of those. But anyway, so Ned Lamont is basically the handpicked guy to run for governor for the Democrats, and there's panic going on two scores. Democratic leaders wanted to make sure Joe Ganim didn't get the nomination because they're worried because he spent 7 years in jail and they feel he won't get general election votes.
Dumbest reason.
But then all the people who had any ability to win office, any experience running office, or connecting with humans,
Mhm.
they all fell away. And when you're not behind Lamont, because they thought, well, he spent $10 million on his last election, he'll just spend a lot of money. And now I'm starting to hear panic in the background, like, but no one might vote for him. Because like last time he spent $10 million running for governor, he lost the primary, even though he had 3 times much money as his opponent,
Yep.
because he didn't inspire anybody.
Right.
And so Tom Breen, our reporter, was following him around New Haven rounds, and he kept seeing that everywhere. And he said Ned's a really nice guy. Like, people thought he was a nice guy, but he couldn't relate to anyone. He went to Bella Vista, and so he's talking to some guy. He had a question. I forgot about what's your inspiration or something. And 2 weeks earlier, Tom had watched him ask the same question to Ganim. And like Ganim had listened to him, and Ganim really heard him, and Ganim had a conversation with him. And Ganim talked about it.
Because Gannon hangs around people.
Yes.
That's right.
He hangs around the people.
So this guy said, when I heard Ganim, I said, that guy listened to me. He could be kind of good. He said he heard Lamont. He said, not a mean guy, but like, that was not a conversation. He didn't hear me. He had nothing to say.
Lamont
and he
ain't
saw
hungry.
that over and over.
He ain't hungry.
It's
See,
more than
Gannon
just
is hungry.
Ga-
You
Ganim
see,
is
here's
real
the deal.
hungry.
Here's the whole thing about it. The Democratic leadership in this state is really and truly going to find out where their shirt is really hanging, because they're running around believing that the majority of the state of Connecticut, or the majority of people, period, still hold something against Ganim because he spent time in jail.
Well, and that he stole a whole lot of money.
And what they don't realize is this man
That is important.
that this man was back in office. Okay,
Aw.
he's back in office.
Give him a
What
break.
they feel, and here's their excuse. Here's their excuse. Their excuse is that people outside of certain areas, the Democrats, you can't get independents or Republicans to
Joe,
vote for
there
him.
are over 800,000 independents in the state of Connecticut.
And they believe that they're not going to cross for him. Well, who the heck you think put him back in office out there?
I know.
It was not the
Don't
indi-
sleep
it was
on
not
him.
the
Okay.
independents.
Listen,
It was
I'm
independents,
with
it were
James Foreman.
Republicans, it were Democrats.
I'm with James Foreman.
Mainly
No
Democrats.
matter what felons do,
Yeah.
no matter,
Yeah.
they could turn their lives around and live a good life.
Mhm.
No matter what they do, that will
That will
always
always
be
be
the tag.
Unless you're Trump.
Well, Joe Ganim this week came by with this big box.
No, with a treasure
A
chest.
treasure chest with me and Norma Rodriguez-Reyes. He was going to Hartford. He had 32,000 signatures to get on the ballot. He needed
That's-
15,000,
And he only
which
needed
means you really
15.
need 20. So he made a point.
Mhm.
And I think, the more Joe Ganim gets shut out of this race,
It's
they-
the
he
more
didn't get,
people are
the
interested.
best thing that happened to him
Mhm.
was he didn't get 15% at the convention of
Yep.
delegates, because then he had to go and get signatures.
Yep.
So now they've talked to 32,000 people. They say you only need 60 to 120,000
Listen,
votes to win a
I
primary.
actually want him to win, just on principle. Just because because you know what? Somebody needs to flip this game over. And I think he might just be the one to do it.
You have just answered my.
Well, in any case,
you have just agreed 100% with what I've been saying.
So
all along.
Lamont's people-
There are a bunch of people out there who either
Are
know someone,
marginalized.
they know someone related to someone, or they did.
Don't sleep on the
Spent
felon vote.
times, exactly. They spent time in some kind of
And they
lockup,
And
got
Joe-
a
whether
second
it was
chance,
short
and they
stay
got a
or
second
long
chance,
stay.
okay,
And Joe, I
and
do
they're going to
agree with you.
remember that.
And I agree with you, Joe and Babs. I think that
It's going to happen.
Joe Gaddam's
Kid.
been intelligent to really take it on
Yes,
and use it to his advantage.
exactly.
And I'm thinking of a debate, because Lamont is going to have to debate him.
Yep.
And he was trying not to. He's going to say, if
Not
they,
with them jokes.
if they start going after him,
Really.
they start going after him, he's going to be able to say, say it. He's good about saying, okay, say it. I'm here, and I'm going to talk about it, and we'll talk about who got a second chance. And the other good thing was getting shut out of that convention, because then he had to go out and get 32,000
Yep.
and talk to people.
Yep.
But you know what I also think? I think this is the best thing that can happen to Ned Lamont. Because if he had not had someone kicking his butt, he would have gone into a general election in a year where the polls are saying that a generic Republican trounces a generic Democrat. People really, even though they're mad at Donald Trump, they're mad at Dan Malloy, the Democratic governor. And you need to be vetted in a strong primary so your weaknesses can be revealed and you can address them. His approach has always been, I just pay people. So like in New Haven, he paid people to work for him, just like he did in 2010 against Malloy.
Well, he needed to fire all
and
them
he still
people.
lost. He
He need to fire that whole slate.
I don't agree. He has to fire his staff. I don't think his staff fault. You can't. He had a staff in 2010, but if you're not inspiring anybody
That's
as
true.
a candidate,
Does he want it? I'm trying to understand. Does he?
yeah, he's bored. He wants to do something.
All right, because that comes across that he's bored, right?
Yeah,
it comes across.
Markeisha?
Yeah, pull Joe's
Markeisha
over.
Ricks is in the house.
Hello, everyone. I think being bored and wanting it are two different things.
Joe Ganim wants it bad. Now, what
Yeah.
about the Donald Trump factor, folks? Now, does it concern you that when Joe Ganim was the mayor the first time in Bridgeport, he was doing business with Donald Trump trying to get him to build a casino in Bridgeport. And then when Donald Trump became president this time and Joe was in, Joe was saying very positive things about Trump until he really started running for governor and seeing that you needed to be anti-Trump to run. And he was quite close to Governor John Rowland, came this close to endorsing him, and they were working out deals. Any of that trouble you at all?
Why would it trouble me when
I didn't think you were big on Donald Trump.
I'm not.
Okay.
But listen. Before we know all that we know, before he was our president, people was digging Donald Trump. People was digging him. They wanted to be in business with him.
Did hang out
The
with
Clintons,
Donald Trump.
everybody hung out with him, right? He was the guy, and he
But
talked
what about
a
when he
good
was
game.
elected? How about when he ran a campaign calling immigrants thieves and rapists? What about when he ran for office on a racist platform that you called racist and you were very upset
I know
about?
it's racist.
It was
Yeah.
after that Joe Ganim was saying he welcomed
I mean,
Trump
you
as a
know what?
president.
Listen, Paul. I know you got an axe to grind with
I don't have an
this,
axe to grind at all
because I
with
just
him.
feel like
I don't have an
all
axe at all.
right,
I've
but
been very positive about Ganim's campaign.
Who else didn't flip on Trump early on?
No.
Lots of people did.
Everybody that you support after Trump won the election, everyone said we have to resist this. Everyone that you
Yes.
support, Joe Ganim did not.
Well,
He
then
welcomed
you
it.
know what? He'll have to listen. That's what the campaign trail is for.
Yeah.
Somebody got asked that question. He got to answer it,
But
and he's got to
I
answer
don't have
it
an axe
with.
to grind. I think
he's
he's done a
gotta,
great
you know-
job. I think he did a great job on the petition drive. I think he's doing a great job addressing the second chance issue now.
Mm-hmm.
I think very positive about a lot of things Joe Ganim's doing. He should run. He should go for it. I'm not for or against any one candidate. I think Lamont's been very weak. But I don't think we should just ignore everything about every candidate just because we like how he's
But
run.
we haven't. But here's the thing.
I don't think anyone is
He's the
ignoring,
only one
especially-
that we've dragged.
Really,
We haven't
proving
dragged
them on.
anybody else. And there's a whole
Exactly.
bunch of candidates running.
Lamont, you don't think we've dragged Lamont?
No.
No.
What did we
No.
spend the first
No,
10 minutes
we
of
have
the
not
show doing?
dragged him.
No.
What do we do the first 10 minutes of the show?
We've been, it's been mildly like at the tea table.
Really?
Yeah, he's a little boring. He's a little. We haven't dragged him.
Or how about
He
this
haven't
week?
took not even a
How about this week when the
car.
Republicans had a gubernatorial debate at the Schubert in New Haven? They come to New Haven, right? Even though they don't need any New Haven votes in a primary. And the governor candidates got up there, and all they did was bash New Haven. One of them said, Jim Herbst, who's running as the Trump candidate, and he's got a real chance. He says, Tony Hart here in New Haven. Luke Bronin.
I
Joe
wish he would have
Ganim.
I wish he would have just went up there and said, "Get the hell out of my town."
He kept talking about illegals. He says illegals this, and he kept talking about how they're in New Haven. He's going to keep us safer because they're all committing all these crimes and dangerous crimes, and he's going to let Tony Hart and everyone know that
That's
when
somebody
he's.
who knows nothing about New
And
Haven.
he said,
So
if
He didn't
why-
know
why should
nothing about
anybody
nothing.
know
he said
that
if
guy?
he said if
New
he's
Haven.
elected, he's going to withdraw state money from New Haven because of sanctuary cities, which
Are
might
they
not
gonna
be
win?
legal.
You think they're gonna win?
He has a chance because there
I
are-
got a chance too.
no, Babs. There are 5 people running for governor now for the Republicans. They are going to need only 20 to 25,000 votes to win.
Well, the only one I see running for governor on the GOP side is a guy with the money that has all the commercials.
He's the first one that went up, Stefanowski. I always get confused between Stefanowski and Stemmerman. There are 2 really rich guys, just like Ned Lamont and Democrat
His commercials
side.
are on 24/7.
How are they?
It's standard political stuff. Let
So
me
that
be seen
allegedly
with all
gave-
kinds
that
of
gave
people.
that gave him a little bump allegedly at the beginning, but then everyone else is going to go on TV now, and it's really about getting your base out because there aren't that many Republicans. There are only 400,000 change in the state, so they're not going to need a lot to win. But it is interesting to me how much they were bashing. They all bashed sanctuary cities.
I
at
just
this
wish the
debate.
Democrats would just put some gloves on and swing.
That's the problem with
That's
the
the-
Democrats.
that's my
you know,
problem.
They run
They
around
not
with these
swinging.
cheap suits. You know?
Lamont did one swing at Ganim on his tour. He did no good talking to voters, but he went to a wine store and he said, Joe sent me. I hear he likes fine wine because Joe had taken cases of wine for bribes.
Oh God. That's all you got,
That's
bro.
all he got. Can you imagine? That's all he got.
That's what you would have been. He would be beat up on the playground.
That's all.
That's
he
what you
wouldn't.
got.
No,
That's-
he wouldn't. He'd just pay the bigger kid to fight the other guy.
Oh,
Probably.
all right.
But, you know,
Richie Rich.
Richie Rich.
But at
we're-
least Richie Rich has style.
Well, we're feeling the love here on Pundit Friday with a lot of style. I don't kind of style. We'll talk about that. And 103.5 FM live stream, NewHavenBeen.org. We got the best pundits in the media universe talking about the stories of the week. So Joe Ugly has been away. Where you been, Joe?
Hiding out in Europe.
Did you have a good time?
I had a great time. I went over to Ireland, and not to bore you any, but one of my biggest challenges was driving from a place called Cork all the way on out to the Cliffs of Moors. Drive out there on the other side of the road because your steering wheel is on the right hand. It's on the right hand side of the car. So yeah, that was a good challenge, and drove around to Athlone and then back to Dublin.
Okay.
So it was a lot of driving more so than anything else. Then I flipped over and went over to Italy.
Aaron
And-
Go Bra. That's all my.
So
Okay.
Irish.
That's all Irish I know.
Well, Joe, while you were gone, because I noticed you said to Babs a few minutes ago, who's Eva?
Exactly.
A lot
Do not
happened
know.
with
A lot
the
the
woman
next,
named
happened
the
Eva.
next lieutenant governor.
So there's been this
Maybe she'll help
insurgency.
Ned.
People are very upset about this
He gonna need
ticket
some help.
being at the Democratic convention being endorsed of Ned Lamont for governor and Susan Bice for lieutenant governor. They felt there wasn't racial diversity, that there was retreads of old politicians who
Right.
can't inspire. So Eva Bermuda's 31 years old, union organizer,
Right.
got 40% at the convention and now has all the momentum. And everyone in New Haven who's backing Lamont, they're also backing Eva. She came to New Haven and there was a big
It's got a
event for
split
her.
ticket going on.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
a very
man.
Hell yes.
In both parties, there's a really interesting lieutenant governor primary
Yeah, the
with
lieutenant governor's
diversity of
popping.
sorts. There's a 31-year-old woman running, Erin Stewart, as moderate against a very conservative Republican for lieutenant governor on that side. On the Democrat side, you got Eva against Susan, which is going to be a real battle because Susan Bice has years of debts in a lot of suburban towns, and Eva Bermudez is the one single person. I think Joe Gaddam's also inspired some people, but Eva Bermudez is really the one person this election year who stood out and gotten people excited about something.
I think it's gonna be Ganem and her.
Eva. Yep.
So let's ask
And I'm going to tell you why I think so is because, you know.
And I'm going to that ball.
and you think they would win a general election this year?
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
it's going. I think they're
I
gonna
think
win
it's going to be, and this alone, you just hit the nail on the head by just saying, Ned, you're done. If you got a split ticket on your down ticket, you know, who you chose is more excited than you are, first of all, to not only just who you are, but more excited than your
People
pick.
were actually upset about that pick too. They felt
Yeah.
that he wanted her out of the race for governor and wasn't listening at all to people he had promised.
It's
that
that
would get
John
diversity.
McCain syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. He went
Seriously,
with
I
Sarah
want to
Palin.
win at all costs, and whatever they tell me, I'm gonna pick
But
that.
it wasn't smart for winning. Is
It
what I'm
was
saying.
not.
Oh, well, he
Didn't work for
didn't
John
pay
McCain
attention.
either.
well, Norma Rodriguez
Didn't work
Reyes
for
is
McCain either.
Norma Rodriguez Reyes. In addition to publishing Lavos, she is the head of the Connecticut Latino Democrats. And is this what kind of campaign is this for the Democrats? Is this the big campaign for you guys? And what's at stake?
You know, the Connecticut Hispanic Democratic Caucus endorsed her before Lamont made his decision. At least 3 days before Lamont made his decision.
And he ignored your endorsement.
Yeah.
We endorsed him, but we endorsed Eva
Right.
for lieutenant governor.
No, but my point is he ignored who you guys endorsed for his down ticket because he
See?
thought he had the Latino group in his pocket.
Well, he
But
did
you know,
get-
I'm
he did get
surprised at
their votes
Susan.
at
I
the
didn't
convention.
think that Susan would take,
Right.
you know, the lieutenant governor position.
Right.
But then again, you know, one thing about Susan is she can't seem to make up her mind the first time. She went to 3 different positions.
Just like she did last time.
Well, previously,
Correct.
she did the same thing. You know, she started off as senator, state senator. Then
Candidate.
she went on to governor, and then she settled for lieutenant governor.
Right.
You know,
So, Norma, how are Latinos reacting to this, and how they feel about Lamont? Because you guys did vote for Lamont at the convention over Ganem.
yes,
Coming
we
home.
did.
But you're coming home.
So we're hoping that Eva will be able to push him through. But see, one thing that we're excited about Eva, which is very interesting, is she's a young woman. She's a woman, first of all. And how many women do we have out there?
Right.
And see, that's one thing that it really upsets me in a way when we have these women movements. Are we talking about these women movements when you're talking about white women?
Right. Right.
You know?
Right. You
'Cause-
see,
Well, come on and preach, Norma.
Yeah.
but here's the dangers in the twofer. When you get a twofer, such as a minority, and is a minority based on race, and then you're talking about gender part. When you got a 2-for-1,
No, we got four. We got 4 for 1 because she's a woman. She's a millennial. Okay,
Ooh, whoa.
so
That
she's
is
definitely
important.
going
That's
to
very
be
important.
attracting, and she's a union member. How many
Oh,
union members out
organizer.
there?
That's true.
And then
Union
she's a
organizer.
qualified Latina woman. You know what? Sometimes we're very hard on our own people.
I understand that, but
you know,
here's-
does she have the qualifications to be
Right.
lieutenant governor or governor?
Right.
If God forbid something happens to the governor, you know what? Yes, people that want to run, they have the qualifications because wherever they lack, they find somebody that'll be able to make them look correctly
No,
and
Mom.
make the right decisions.
I'm on your side. I clearly understand it, and I support that 100. But the only thing that I don't like when we start highlighting the twofers opposed to all what you just said, what these people on the other side start to do is just say, "Oh well, we got that. There's no need to push forth anymore." They will not. You got. Therefore, they will not look at the next woman because they already have a woman. They will not look at the next minority
We
woman.
don't have no
because-
millennials.
No, I'm just saying. They would just say we already have a minority woman. So those are the two forces that I was talking about. We've seen this many times happening. Even in corporate America, it's vicious. You put a black person in, and then next thing you know, we already have a black. They play that card. So we need to watch. My point is, let's not highlight that as much as we should highlight her qualifications.
But
Should we-
you know the other thing also that we need to really seriously talk about is that when people say that we need to wait our time,
That is so crazy.
okay?
That's what
They
I-
always
That is so
say that all
crazy.
the time. Wait your time.
When is
but
your
you know
time?
the truth is that unless the majority decides to make it happen, many times we don't have the votes. And you know what? Look at what happened with slavery. Okay?
My topic.
When it was legal to have slaves, okay? It was a lot of the people that believed that that wasn't right. It wasn't the blacks themselves, because if the blacks had been the only ones fighting, they still would have been slaves. They needed the whites to help them to move out of slavery. And that's when I say sometimes you need to create the situation so that it happens. It's like here in the Board of Aldermen,
No, I
in the
gotta
different
ask a
boards and
quick-
commissions, in the different boards of commissions, you know how they state that you need to have minority representation. So in the cities, you have to have Republicans. Those seats are slated for people that are registered Republican or independent. Okay? That's also, right now, if the majority of the Democrats had not given it, stated that this position was going to be for an African American, the votes were not there statewide in order for an African American to win. And that's why, we really need to seriously think about that if we really want to have representation on the state level that reflects the makeup of the people of Connecticut.
I understand that, but when we look in certain spaces, like for
Norma.
example, you just said slavery would not have been abolished if it wasn't for the support of white America, of whites. Granted, but what was the motive behind that? Was economics.
And
Well,
also,
the
it's
econo-
leaving out the more dangerous and important work done by black people to
Absolutely.
organize that and make it
But it was more economics.
just like
so-
civil rights. Yes, Lyndon Johnson was important, not nearly as important as Martin Luther King and people in SNCC and all that.
Well, Lyndon Johnson look around and realize he can have a strong voting bloc if he helped blacks be able to vote. That's what that was more of that. Come on, the South bloc.
He
the
was
Southern
already
black-
in. He had gotten reelected. I think.
No, he didn't get reelected.
I think he was
yet.
trying to do one.
68. Yes, he did get reelected.
I think he wanted to do, after he'd done a lot of scuzzy stuff in his life, he wanted to do one thing he was really proud
But
of.
he no. It wasn't until after that he said he would not accept the nomination.
Yeah, I
He
know,
was
that's
not
'cause of
reelected.
Vietnam.
Yeah. He was not reelected. He took over the first term, so he had eligibility.
But it was 65. He got elected in 64. He got named in 63, elected in 64, passed the bill in 65. He had 9 months after his first
Right.
landslide saying, I can pass a whole bunch of groundbreaking legislation, and
Right.
he worked it.
But he
I'm not trying to
still
take.
had
I'm
other
saying.
terms,
I
that's my point.
was saying that he is not the hero of the story.
No, he's not.
But he definitely gets some props in my opinion.
Of course, he's gonna. Yeah, he's gonna get that. But anyway, I
Marquise.
don't
Can
want
I
to
just
do. Go ahead, Marquise.
add something to Norma's point. I think that's what's very exciting about Eva's campaign, because what you said about creating the conditions to be able to push someone forward. the Democrats and the Black and Latino Democrats could have squandered this opportunity by infighting over who would have been that person. But when Gary Winfield said, okay, if it's not me, that's fine, but we're not going to let you get away. We're not going to let you get away with breaking promises to us, promises that were all good long as you were going to be the candidate. And that's what has to happen. Like folks have to, particularly Black and brown folks, have to hold people accountable, because you saw people all in our comments talking about, well, you know, why are we worried about this? Why are we worried about diversity? What does diversity get us if we don't win the election? Diversity gets you that you need to groom people that aren't just white folks for opportunities.
You know, for too long, they've played us against each other.
Absolutely.
The African American community
and that didn't happen this
and
time.
the Latino community. In New Haven, we have a relationship. The African American community and the Latino community have. That relationship does not exist in Bridgeport, and it doesn't exist in Hartford among the African Americans and the Latinos. And it has a lot to do with people not being politically mature. It doesn't matter how many years you're in politics, doesn't have nothing to do with maturity. And until our people decide, you know what, we're not going to fight for each other's crumbs. We want a piece of the big pie. Okay? And we come together. And I strongly believe in that. And that's what I preach at the Connecticut Hispanic Democratic Caucus. I say, wait a minute, the African American community fought too hard for that seat. Okay? And it's not fair for any of us. And I'm not in favor of any Latino running for treasurer. Because that, to me, I see as the African American seat.
See, now with Eva running for lieutenant governor, I feel like we're beyond that. Also, it doesn't hurt. Let's be clear. Like, she's a Black Tina. She's brown. She's very brown when she's standing, but like this backdrop of
and she's married to a Jewish gentleman.
Exactly.
So
she's breaking
that's real
all
serious
the rules,
diversity.
right?
Sure, he's a gentleman.
She's breaking all the rules. And the fact that New Haven Black and Hispanic folk and would get behind. She's not even from here. She's from Newtown. Like she's not from here. Like they could have fought and said, no, that person has to be from New Haven. It has to be a New Haven, or it has to be somebody from this city. It has to be somebody with this kind of political whatever. They said no. They said no. What we're gonna do, we got somebody. She's running. We're gonna get behind her and we're gonna fight for her. And I just think that was smart.
I think that's really great. That
and
we're
I think it's
doing
smart
that
of people to be tuning in to Pundit Friday on WNHH 103.5 FM Washington Network, because we're running down the headlines with the best media minds in the New Haven media universe. You know, talking about vetting people's qualifications, you know, before you become a cop, they check you out, right? So this week we found out that a whole bunch of cops they checked out and said they check out fine. It turned out that they were faking. There was a woman who was working in the background division, an officer in the police department, who at least 17 times wrote a report that she had spoken to someone to vet a cop, and it turns out she never spoke to them. And the way they found it out, so one cop got rejected, went in, the commissioner says, hey, you know, there's something that doesn't add up. He said, why? He said, because you said here you talked to my neighbor. He said, yeah, my neighbor's dead. The neighbor was dead. The woman had written she had talked to the neighbor. So they said, uh-oh. So the police chiefs ordered looking again at all this stuff. They found at least 17 reports of conversations with people about recruits that never took place. So they were still, they redid all the investigations, said, okay, it checks out, she's gone. And we thought that was it, right? We were on an article in the Independent. Last night, they were going to certify 35, I believe it was 35 or 37 cops for the academy. They canceled the meeting. And I'm hearing there's going to be a broad investigation, and the partner of the woman who resigned has also now resigned. So Joe's taking it all in. I think Ireland is now way in the past. He's learned about Eva. He's learned about the police department. Meanwhile, in the last couple weeks,
I'm so ashamed. What happened to America? I left prayers in your hand to hold down the place
also
while
you were
was
gone, Joe, across from your office, and maybe it's because you were in Ireland. I don't know if you saw, we talked a lot about it last week, the video of the young man who was arrested when he was criticizing the police.
In my building?
No, across the street at the bus stop.
Oh,
we
no,
had a
I
body
missed
cam
this.
video of the guy who was ranking on the cops, and they arrested him and threw him to the ground, and that's been and now there's an investigation into that. And then we had a case with a 70-year-old African-American woman that called for help with a cop on a traffic stop when someone hit her. And then they arrested her when it was a different woman, the same name, who was 20 years younger. So yesterday, a guy running for Green Party candidate for Attorney General said, I want a racial profiling investigation of the New Haven police.
Ouch.
And the other candidates were not willing to do that because they want New Haven support. Say, we care a lot about racial profiling, says Chris Maddie, William Tong, but I don't know enough about this. And then someone wrote in something interesting. We wrote an article about this, and one of the cops wrote in and said, well, let's see. The guy arrested on the green was black, and there was a white officer getting arguing with him while the white officer was having a good interaction with an African American man he was actually arresting for drunkenness, and it was a black officer who came and actually collared him. So he's saying, does this attorney general candidate really know the deal? Like, is this race?
And see, I think where I'm coming from it is I'm less worried about what some random attorney general candidate is saying, because I don't know him and he doesn't know the city. But what I do kind of appreciate is that, like, it's been a rough couple of weeks for the police department, but I really think they've been handling things.
Me
like
too.
When things have come up, they've
Me
really
too.
been trying to address them. It's not been, oh, don't look at this, don't pay attention to this.
They released that body
misdirect.
cam video sooner than they had to. They did it in
So-
under 24 hours.
So
and
I
they
think
made
they're
no-
actually doing the work to try to get
Yeah.
their own house in order with some of the things that have been happening. So
And
that
as Chief
actually
Campbell
is
said,
impressive to me.
said this is all serious. I care a lot about this. It's also, I'm glad that we're talking about this instead of people getting shot by police. Or I think any large organization has people who like don't want to do their job and get caught. I think they're very young force because of resignations. I think it's like on the mistaken identity. Chief Campbell saying, we really got to train them to
Did
realize you
people
don't have
resign?
to.
Yeah.
Who resigned?
You said
The officer did the background
officers that did
checks
the
and now
background
her
checks
partner.
resigned and her partner.
Yeah. She should've
But
resigned.
like we've seen the police department be defensive over things that have happened that have gone public. They're actually it looks self-reflective. They're looking at internally. Now, what comes of it? Those two officers resigned, but there's still a conversation to be had with the rank and file about.
Can they bring them up on
what
charges?
happened.
No, probably not, right?
That's a
There's
part of this
question.
equation that I just
That's a
can't wrap my head
question.
around.
Joe, I'm surprised I didn't see that video.
I am surprised I didn't.
That's
You know
been
what it
seen
is?
all over
No,
the country.
I came back here and I got so inundated with catching up on so much other stuff. I mean, you don't know excuse. You're gonna hear from me. Listen to Joe Ugly in the morning.
So once I catch up, I'm gonna be on it.
No, I mean it was just so crazy. So much happened in 2 weeks. I was like, what? I was
Yeah,
whiplash.
it was a rough 2 weeks.
It was. I got whiplash. just
Okay,
like
so
trying
here's
to keep
my
up.
advice. Follow Markeisha Ricks
Where am I going?
because she's everywhere. Like this week, look at
Oh.
all the places she was. She was in the old clock factory on Hamilton Street.
I was.
Were you?
That's been
That was
around for
cool.
150 years. Big complex was falling apart. Had
Is
all-
it gonna be something?
it's going to be
Yeah,
new
it's gonna be
apartments. It's
apartments.
going to be apartments for housing for
Everything becomes apartments directly in this town.
How high?
artists.
How high?
They're affordable apartments.
How high?
2 stories.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
I
not
can-
gonna block it.
Anyway,
I
so
Oh,
can
but
live
isn't there something coming to block his view on State
yes,
Street?
we'll get to that in a second.
Oh.
So Markeisha,
That also happened while you were gone.
Markeisha got to hang out inside that clock factory before they sealed it up to fix it. With some of the artists who used to like live there, maybe legally, maybe not. When there were like mimes there, when they were kind of wild parties. There's a strip joint. There's an underground club.
I remember
And,
it was brick and wood.
Yeah, Brick and Wood.
Brick
So
and
what-
wood? Is that where it's going?
That's where it was.
Yeah,
No. That I
Yeah,
thought
that's
that-
where the
that's the clock factory.
That's
Oh, that's the clock.
factory.
Tiny
Across
part
from-
of it is huge. Across from
Huge.
91 on
Across
on
from,
Hamilton
Van Dome.
Street. Yep.
Where the
So
factory-
I
what
thought the
was
clock
it?
factory was more up the street.
Markeisha, what did you find when you were? Well, it's a big factory. What did you find? No, I'm serious. It's like a
Okay, I believe you.
Markeisha, what did you find when you were going through it? Was kind of cool. I thought your pictures were amazing.
It's kind of cool in that, like, particularly when you have somebody who actually used to live in there, kind of describe how they had were building the place from the inside because the former owner, let people come in and create spaces inside it. And so, he talked about like this one particular gentleman, who was a former mime, former booking agent here in town.
You said a mime?
a mime.
But she got to hear some words from him.
And he's no longer a mime. He's a semi-retired house painter. And just,
Why,
the
did
kinds
things
of
get quiet? Huh?
kind of characters that people were like in those spaces. Like they used to do like video production in there, like just like
Famous rappers, I
painting
forget
and-
who, had done early shows there.
I think
as had
somebody
like punk
said that
acts.
possibly Freddie Jackson performed at the
Yeah,
Brick and Wood?
yeah,
Yeah,
Brick
Brick
and
and
Wood.
Wood, yeah.
Oh, lots
Yeah.
of people performed in
That's
Brick and Wood.
crazy.
Brick and Wood
Wood, brass,
International.
and steel.
Wood, brass, and
Brick
steel.
and
Yep,
wood.
yep.
Shoot.
I
So
thought
Mark-
it was really cool though that they were like back in the day. These folks back in the 80s, pretty
Yeah,
much,
that's when it was.
were attempting to
Mid-80s.
do what these folks are coming in to do, which is that they were creating kind of this artist commune from the ground up, like these
Yeah.
kind of rebellious, creative people who were living life by the seat of the pants, just short of being homeless, basically.
Yeah, loft.
But like building their they had like a loft space. That's what it was.
I'm
And
But
that
it
they
wasn't necessarily
created.
up to code.
It-
The ghost ship in Oakland, right? Daggett Street, they closed down.
Exactly.
So that's what I found so interesting, among other things,
You
in
mind up the
Marcus'
code.
story with the great photos, which I recommend you look at, what she did with light. But, Marquise is telling these people who are doing underground art.
Yeah.
And they went to some place that made it cool when it was unofficial, probably dangerous to live in. and cheap. So now they're fixing up. It's still going to be affordable, but costs a little more. But it's going to be up to code, and it's going to be like an official place.
Yeah,
and,
it's
they
like,
want artists. Can you create
art?
the same kind of scene when it's legit?
Sure, you can.
Oh yeah.
Sure, you can. I don't see
It'll
why
be
you can't.
interesting.
Yeah.
I think that we have this
But
mindset.
is there some tension
Safer.
or art in creating in a space that isn't necessarily safe? I don't know. I don't want to find out.
No, I don't.
That's why I'm not.
I don't need to be edgy on edge. If the
But
light,
but
I'm gonna
that-
electrocute myself or
That
fall
has
through the
created some
floor.
Great spaces in New York.
No, I think that they'll do.
I mean,
they'll do well in a
Basquiat,
good
right?
space.
Right. But he didn't live
Basquiat.
very long, did he?
Warhol, they're all dead. So listen.
No, and guess what? It wasn't the building, the environment that killed them. It was
Michelle Turner chimed in. Lilo Thomas, Freddie Jackson, Wood, Brass, and Steel, and Melissa Morgan.
That's right. Melissa Morgan was there too. Wow.
Nice.
They
Thank
said
you.
also they used to have these sex parties that actually didn't have sex in them. The Yale architecture students used to come with Vincent Scully, the famous professor, and they give awards for like sex-themed costumes and architecture, and they get really, really drunk.
That's
yeah.
white people.
Yeah.
Wealthy
And they had the
white
strip
people.
joint.
That was after Brick and Wood.
And they had the
That
strip
was after
and they had the
Brickwood.
strip joint that got shot. Well, it was a huge
The Cat
place.
Club.
Yeah.
Was it the
so
Cat
big.
Club or
Yes.
was it
The Catwalk.
big.
No, Catwalk wasn't there.
No,
However,
that
East
wasn't it.
Street.
That was Stage Door.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And there was
Oh.
another one more recently where the woman got killed by a stray bullet, Erica Robinson.
Oh my gosh.
Some of that stuff happens too. But Marquise was also there at the groundbreaking. Where's going to be a Barack Obama school in New Haven, a public school?
Where?
The new,
Barack-
at Southern,
Right
not
around the
near
corner from
you.
your house.
They're building that school. It's controversial because a lot of people thought we couldn't afford it.
Where is that?
No, it's
And-
gonna be
you know
on
where
the
Farnham
campus?
is?
It's got an
Farnham
education
Avenue?
theme on the campus
on there.
in conjunction with the education students at
What
Southern.
is the focus of this program?
Education, even though it's elementary
it's a-
school.
It's a
But-
magnet school.
A magnet, but what type? For example, ESOM is on UNH, and it's the engineering school.
Right, so this is in
What type is
conjunction
this?
with the education school.
Oh,
They're hoping to
education,
create
okay.
future teachers,
Teachers,
new
okay.
teachers.
So it's
the
a
Southern
lab
students
school.
participate.
Right. Okay.
So
What's
is
your-
Southern
what's
gonna
the
take
Marquisha?
some? They're gonna take some ownership of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they got a great president now at Southern. He's really into the
Yeah,
community, Joe Bertolino.
he stood there and gave $1,000 scholarships. If all those 16 little kids who were out there make it out of high school, they all get $1,000 scholarship to Southern.
That's what I'm talking about.
So what did
I
you
love
think,
that dude. He just
Marquisha,
gives it out
about
like it's like dollar bills.
when you were there? What did you think about a school being named for Obama in New Haven? How did it feel?
It
What
felt
was
really
significance?
cool. In the sense that like I think it'll be like the first one in the state, and there's only like 4 in New England, and it's going to be the only public school named after Obama in New England. Which
But
is
they
pretty
have
cool.
private schools being named after
There
him?
are charter schools
Charter
in
schools,
other
yep.
places.
Oh man, Barack Obama. Why would? Don't he get some kind of?
I'm sorry. Is he
copyright
known for
infringement?
education?
He is considered an education
Education
president.
president. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
feeling it.
Yeah, but
Feeling it.
Barack Obama in a private school, a charter school setting of all, it just seems odd. No.
Well, you know how people are. Like the first black president, you want to inspire your students with his name. Like he meant a lot to little kids
No,
when he
but
got
public
elected.
schools, I am for.
Well, it's
straight
a
up.
well, our
well, not
school is
charter.
a public school.
Yeah,
so.
but yes, ours I could agree with.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the others in New England that you're talking
I
about.
mean,
They are
charter schools can
charters.
usually do what they want when they name their school. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
kind of their whole
understand, but
shtick.
I'm talking about the whole. Don't it seem odd just having that name attached to a charter school?
No,
I
why?
don't know why. You have to
Because I don't include Common Ground. by the way.
Arnie Duncan
I think-
was the education commission for Obama. Big fan of charter schools. Really promoted charter schools.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
There lies a problem. Continue.
All right.
I do
Well,
think it's
but
cool
you know,
that
Neil
I actually
Lamont
think it's
was-
more cool that it's on a university campus.
Yeah.
I'll be
I think
interested
it's
to
great
see what comes
personally.
out of that.
What was that, Marcia?
FIFA.
FIFA. Oh, she has her
football,
notes.
football.
She's not playing.
Wait, what's
Soccer,
FIFA?
soccer.
Soccer season. We
Oh,
gotta talk
that's
about
right.
that.
It's
Football.
that's right. The Spanish people call
That's
it
right.
football.
Football.
You know, sometimes we have to ask them. You know, are we talking about football, American football, or are we talking about soccer?
So
we
what's
call
as
FIFA?
long
it
as they
soccer.
understand
What's
it's
FIFA?
football.
Well,
FIFA.
You know,
You don't know what FIFA
right
is?
now. Yeah.
The
Who's in the playoffs?
Football International Federation Association.
And-
Federation Association.
Football.
And they're playing right now in
Football.
Russia. Every 4 years, it's like the Olympics. Every
right,
4
it is.
years.
It moves around.
Well, and you know that the first winner gets $38 million.
I did not know this.
The
This is
second
something
one
I
gets
heard.
$28 million. The third one gets $24 million. And the fourth one gets $22 million. But you know, one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is just so you could see how the Latino and the
fire.
Yes, she is. Way to go.
and and the Europe, all the other countries are really influencing big time what's happening here in the United States. If you see all of our playgrounds, they're no longer with baseball or football.
Correct.
They're soccer. But you know, the only reason why the American TV stations are not covering it is because we don't have a soccer team. We don't have a dog in that fight.
Also, because the U.S. men's team is terrible. The women's team is great.
But also another shutout, Norma. Another shutout is American football. They own their own networks. Like they own it. They're literally.
But you know, one thing that surprised me this morning and even last night, because last night was the first game that they played, and now this morning is the second game because they play all kinds of games. We end up getting this, but is that the only one that's covering it is Telemundo, and it's a Spanish radio station. And I go to Christie's and I go to the
12.
Greek Olive, and here they have it, you know, in Spanish, with no English subtitles,
Correct.
to audiences that are not Spanish.
And you know where else you'll find football games or soccer games is at the Irish pubs.
Yes,
they're probably
because
all
they have
there.
big time people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What about Latino community? Are there going to be events in New Haven where people watch together? Do people
Oh,
stop
yeah.
what they're doing?
You,
to talk about
you
it?
go to every single Spanish
Bar.
bar or restaurant, and
Well, Paul, there was a place on Crown Street that took it over and make apartments again, more apartments. Anyway, what was it called? Wings or Swings?
yeah, wings.
Remember
It used to be wings.
A
Wing.
wing? A swing? Yeah,
Oh, swings.
It was,
Oh, yeah.
It was right at the corner of Crown and High Street. You go in there for the last big World Cup, it was like 4 years ago. It was packed with people, everyone watching this. I'm talking about different races, nationalities. Everyone was.
Of course, you know what my only
And
interest
they
in this whole thing was?
What's that?
That when Russia first went for the games in 2010, they were pitching it as their way to become more part of the European
right,
Union, and now they're looking as a way to sort of fight.
Correct.
And
So you're looking at
the politics.
They
But
have-
Norma, who you guys rooting for? Joe and Norma and anyone else?
I don't have a dog in this fight. I really
I'm like,
don't.
if Brazil is playing, always Brazil. They are amazing.
Yeah, they're
I've
the
seen them
number
play
one.
live.
They're
Yeah.
slated to
They
win.
dusted the U.S. team when I went to see them in Washington, D.C. I was like, oh my gosh. Like
think
they look like the U.S. team like they were standing still.
But one of the coolest thing in
And the Brazilians were
2015,
running
the
circles around.
females who put the female soccer team in 2015, I was in Arizona. That was so huge. People were just locked around just to watch the women win that the cup that what was that? Yeah, 2015. That was huge.
Well, here we have like the Spanish ones are, you have Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, Peru, Colombia, Argentina, Uruguay just won today against Egypt, and Brazil, who they seem to think is going to be the winner.
They always are in the run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
They're
they
always in the hunt.
they
But then
even
we
take
have-
a lot of European players.
we have-
as well.
And a lot of their players want to come back home to play because
Right.
they know what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have Ireland is no Iceland. I don't
Iceland.
think
I don't think
Ireland
Ireland
didn't
is.
make it.
I think
Iceland
Joe
did.
Ugly was suiting up for Ireland.
With
How do
a
you say
pint of Guinness.
Belgico in English? How do you say
He's
Belgico?
like, I was trying to
How do
drive
you say
to
that in
practice,
English?
but I
What's
couldn't
that?
get there.
What do you-
Belgico. Belgico. How do you say it?
Belgico? I don't know.
Belgico. Is it Belgium?
No.
Probably
What?
Belgico. I don't know how to say Belgico, the country of Belgico in English.
Well, that's what it is. Belgico, whatever, however you say
The
it.
United
it is.
Kingdom is fighting. Iceland, Poland, Germany, France, Portugal, Italy, and
Wait a
Spain.
minute, Germany's still in?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a dog in this fight.
And then we got Africa, Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Russia, China,
Who's playing for Africa? Do you know?
Japan, all them folks. Those countries are all.
Yeah.
But see, you know why Marquisha wasn't on that one? Because she was hanging out at the Connecticut Open for the tennis players.
What?
Oh,
Now, do we, you know,
how
that's
was
the-
it?
you know, I kind of feel like it's a
Coming up.
different planet, New Haven, though. When
Yeah.
Connecticut Opens here,
Yes.
I never hear anyone really talking
Yes.
about it. Do you?
No.
You know what?
It feels
We need
kinda
to stop
promotional.
covering this stuff here, Paul. Let's talk about it.
When
on
I
the
do,
Pundit.
nobody wants to read it.
I will.
I'm
Is
talking. I
it
look at the
the-
numbers.
Do you
People,
think
my
because
readers.
it's women's tennis and not men's tennis?
No, they didn't do the men's either. I think it's that
Oh.
it's sort of pitched to Fairfield County or something. It doesn't feel so
Oh.
New Haven. I mean, it's a
Well,
good
because
event.
they feel that
It's a great
sports is
event.
really uppity. You know what I mean?
You know, yeah, it's true. You don't see, you can't look out in the playgrounds. And one of the things, Norma, one of the reasons
I don't know.
why.
I mean, I played tennis all through
I
high
know
school,
you
so-
played tennis. Don't mean that you
Not-
see
do
it
you
on
like-
not
playgrounds.
uppity.
Do you go to the CT Open? And they
Yeah, I
do
do.
courses
We
for the.
went
They
I have
teach the
tickets.
kids
I always
in
have
New Haven.
tickets. Yeah, I go.
And it's kind of nice at night,
I mean, I
right?
played tennis. I like
Yeah,
tennis.
the
so.
weather's usually beautiful in
It's
August.
and it's a great. It's a wonderful
It's a wonderful
facility.
place. There's
It
going to be
is.
a
That's
beer
all-
festival this year.
Oh, I'm so there.
Hold on one second, Norma. The reason why you don't see as many the little kids outside playing football and baseball like they used to anymore. Mainly football is because of the whole what's that ECT thing with the I know I said it wrong. The head concussion things. A lot of mothers are keeping.
I never let my kids play football.
A lot of mothers are now dropping back and pushing more towards soccer.
What about tennis?
So getting ahead of soccer right now.
My oldest daughter played tennis for a little while. She got featured on like Fox 61.
So getting ahead of soccer right now and start talking about soccer today, I guarantee you in 3 years, you'll be so far ahead of it. The person who talks about soccer now is going to be a big player in the game 3 years from now.
You know, there's more money to be made with soccer than any other.
It's global.
But the Americans haven't figured it out yet. That's why they're not doing it.
No, they have. It's just that we can't control it. FIFA control it.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line.
But one thing we control starting next week, starting Saturday, we can actually rides up to Hartford a whole bunch, like 13 times a day.
Oh, actually, you can go up this weekend for
free on Saturday.
On Saturday, you can go for free. I have a.
They finally got the Hartford line up the Springfield line. Any thoughts? They didn't do the schedules well for people who want to commute to Hartford from New Haven. People come from Hartford, New Haven,
which is like, isn't that where the money is?
Yeah,
I don't.
And then
like one of my friends who commutes back and forth, she's like, I'm still gonna have to take the commuter bus.
Yeah, and then they also
how often is it gonna run? I'm sorry, Paul.
It's gonna run staggered in the day, so a few times in the morning, but not the right times if you're going to Hartford for a job, and then a whole bunch of times at rush hour.
I'm sorry. What's the point of this?
Really?
To get people back. Well, a lot of Hartford people
to go to yard goat games,
and you can't go too late to a concert because I think 10:45 is gonna be the last.
Oh my gosh. Can Connecticut do anything right when it comes to transportation?
And then we have a problem with tolls. You know, I think we should have our tolls. I'm really annoyed that we did not pass those tolls.
That conversation is going to keep coming back because they need that money. They do.
We need the doggone tolls. And stop calling them toll booths. They're called expressway these days. Just charge it. Just pass it. Express Pass. That's the new brand. The bottom line is we have people coming from Boston going all the way on down to New York every single day, millions per year, and not paying a dime.
You're preaching to the choir.
Every time you turn around, no, I'm not preaching to the choir because some of these listeners will listen.
Guy doesn't want those tolls.
Yeah. Who's that?
Guy.
Either he don't want the tolls.
He's not in favor of tolls. He says Connecticut people get paid enough taxes.
Yes. What about the people who are riding through our states and tearing up our highways and byways when the highways are backed up from accidents and stuff, and these people are not paying anything at all.
They're all going to be on the train going late to work in Hartford.
There you go. We need tolls.
Well,
we need them.
Assuming
Stop just looking
that
at
Joe Ugly is not stuck on the train next week, he and the rest of the pundits will be back because we got him back from Ireland. He's going to find out all about Eva.
Yes, I want to know.
Maybe he'll catch some fever.
Oh, no. I'm going to find out so much between now and next Thursday. You need to listen to Joe Ugly in the morning from 8 a.m.
I know.
In the 8 a.m. hour.
And
it's going to be great.
Eva in English, Eva in Spanish.
Oh, Eva it is.
Eva.
And Pundit Friday.
What does she call herself?
Eva.
She wants to call herself Lieutenant Governor.
Right.
Lieutenant Governor.
And so do I.
Eva.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today on Dateline New Haven. Thanks to the best pundits around. Bowser Ivy, Marquisha Ricks, Norma Rodriguez Reyes, Joe Ugly, and hiding in the shadows, Harry Dross. We're going to take it out with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It'd Feel to Be Free from the group CD A Plea for Peace. Now we know what it's like to be free. We just got to remember to book our flight. Book your flight with us all weekend long here at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.